The costs of anger are just absolutely astronomical. I was thinking, and you do such a good job in covering this, the topic, that there are two ways to look at it. One is the short-term immediate cost, as you were saying, and we hear the phrase, and I use the phrase sometimes, that when something triggers my anger, it just flew all over me. And I can feel, and you probably can too, this coursing of chemicals that instantaneously goes through our bodies just immediately upon being triggered. And so there's certainly the immediate short-term pushing us over the edge or the last straw and doing things that we so regret. The other way of looking at it is the long term, the anger that is allowed to burn and to seethe for days and weeks and months and even years. In my experience, when someone comes into my office and is angry and their fists are clenched and their jaws are clenched, and we talk about that for a little while, but then I want to know from them how they've been hurt. Yes. My belief is that there are three emotions that frequently go hand in hand. Hurt that is unresolved. Now everybody gets hurt, but hurt that is unresolved grows into anger. Anger that's unresolved grows into bitterness and resentment. And each of those is more difficult to resolve than the previous one. And so when someone's angry, I want them to talk about the hurt and how did they get hurt and under what circumstances and who was involved in their getting hurt that is still not resolved.
You think about, I've been around some good Christian people who I will not name. I mean, if you see someone, for example, maybe you're working on a construction project, the hammer slips and they bang on their thumb instead of the nail. All of a sudden, you see a different side of people. You hear different words come out of people's mouths that you didn't expect to hear before. There does seem to be this connection between hurt and anger, doesn't there? Yeah. You talked about the chemical. Can you just walk us through, I don't know, I'm interested in this. Walk us through kind of the physiological nature. What is that process in our bodies that causes that anger? How does that work?
Well, from what I've read and studied, the body's a fascinating organism anyway, but our limbic system and our autonomic nervous system are the two systems that are primarily responsible for our emotions. And as we have been made by God, I think everything about us serves a useful purpose, but can be misused. And so when we are angry, I think, and stressed, those are two things that go very frequently together, and they release some of the same chemicals into our systems. A lot of times that's for survival purposes. If we are threatened, or if we are, the fight-flight response is exactly that. And so, as you've already said, anger can serve some very useful protective purposes. In my office, sometimes somebody will say, I'm angry. We'll go through a little bit of that, and they're still angry. And a question I will ask is, how angry are you? And they'll say, I don't understand the question. Well, the question means, are you angry enough to do some of the things that you need to do that you haven't done yet? Are you angry enough to set some boundaries, to confront someone who has been taking advantage of you, for example? And anger can be a very energizing emotion and can be very helpful in that context.
Without naming names, I know I counsel with you sometimes. I go down and get advice from you, and I know a lot of folks here probably have as well, so let's avoid the names here. But I just want to know from your experience, because you deal with people, all people struggle with anger, but you deal with some people who have reached a point where they don't know how to deal with it, and so they need your help. What are some of those causes that you see? And maybe even beyond just your practice, just in our culture, what's making people so mad?
You make a real good point in your earlier remarks about how and thinking about this, I'm not sure that we're more angry. I mean, I guess you can only be so angry and then you've reached the upper limit, but I'm not sure we're more angry than cultures previously, but the social and electronic technological media that enable us to express those things or enable us to hear things from all over the world that trigger that anger response. Those are just real new phenomena. And so something happens in China, for example, and that may really cause some anger on my part, and 40 years ago, you've never known about that. So I think just the global nature of our world, and our communication, social networking, and electronic media give us more triggers or more opportunities, perhaps, to be triggered by triggering our anger.